Okay, IoT, I'm sure you've never ever heard of that in your life, or maybe the Industrial Fourth Revolution. Well, it is here, and it is not going away, and it is really awesome. So today, we're gonna spend a little bit of time with Steve Latham from Banyan Hills Technology, and he's gonna walk us through some ideas and some strategies and some tips on how to actually use IoT solutions and to be able to have them to influence your digital marketing or just marketing in general. It's a really cool topic. There's a lot of interesting use cases in here, so don't miss out. You're going to want to watch this. I'm Danny Gonzalez, and this is IndustrialSage.
Welcome to IndustrialSage, a free weekly video podcast series all about digital marketing for industrial manufacturers. Hear interviews with your peers and find out how they're solving the same challenges that you might be facing in your own field. Coming to you from the Optimum Production Studio in Atlanta, Georgia, this is IndustrialSage.
All right, so I'm excited to jump into this episode. So we've got Steve Latham here from Banyan Hills Technology, who's going to be walking us through IoT. What is that? Well, if you don't know what that is, you've been living under a rock for a while. I didn't know you know what it is, but we're going to get into it from a marketing standpoint. It's going to be really great. So before we really get into all that stuff, Steve, you could just kind of introduce yourself to the audience,
Sure.
Tell us a little about yourselves and Banyan Hills Technology, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely. So Steve Latham, I'm the founder and CEO of Banyan Hills Technologies. We're a company that's 5 years old, and we are focused on, we're an IoT company. We're bringing an IoT platform called Canopy to market, and then all associated services along with IoT.
Okay, great. So IoT, Industrial Fourth Revolution, all these great things, all these great acronyms. For the two people who are watching this who don't know what that is, I'm not throwing shade. But if you're not 100% familiar with it, what is it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's such an overused term
Yes,
in a lot of ways.
a little bit, yeah.
So IoT, very simply, at its core, is about taking any machine or any device and then connecting it, figuring out how to connect it to the internet, and then leveraging the power of the internet to monitor that machine, maintain a constant conversation with that machine, to remotely manage it, and then to create entirely new experiences based on the fact that that device is now connected.
Yeah, and it's amazing. There's so many different applications on it. And so from a manufacturing and industrial side, I mean, a million different use cases. I mean, we're seeing it obviously, even just focusing it just from plant operations, just in creating better efficiencies, but better output. But there's also a whole other aspect of new products that are coming out, and as a result, talk to us a little bit about that. What is some of the things that you're seeing?
Yeah, it's absolutely in the consumer space. So direct to consumer, I think everybody is now gaining in familiarity with what's these solutions like smart thermostats or smart lighting systems inside of a home, even smart doorbells, so that you can tell when someone's accessing your house from a remote location.
Yeah.
And so I think on the consumer side, we've seen the market be flooded with all kinds of really creative and innovative solutions. And so the consumers are starting to get an education on what IoT really is through that type of consumer engagement. And then if you think about, and now when a consumer walks into an enterprise, they start to expect that the same type of experiences that they have in their homes are now replicated inside of these big enterprises. And so we're starting to see the adoption of really smart technology in enterprises, large industries, like we've never seen before, which is really, really exciting.
Oh, that is exciting. I mean, I've seen, it's funny you mentioned that the doorbell thing. I think I've seen that on my Facebook, the ads, the person like looking and pings you on your phone and stuff like that. And then even I think one of the greatest ones actually is those little sensors that'll detect water. So you put it around your faucets or toilets or whatever, so you can detect that. And I think, what a great way to be able to really solve some of those challenges, from a manufacturing standpoint to consumer, but obviously there's enterprise applications to that as well, to be able to help solve some of those challenges around, hey, maybe, we manufacture, we manufacture toilets or the inner workings there, but how can we help make that experience, to your point, better?
Yeah, I think on the enterprise side, what's really, really fun to see is that an enterprise now is really trying to do several things. Any business that's running a retail footprint or a physical footprint is trying to drive down costs through operational efficiencies. They're trying to come up with new ways to create revenue streams. And that's just the basic premise of a lot of business. And so the value that IoT brings in that case is that if IoT can help through its implementation drive automation into a physical footprint, that's going to naturally reduce the cost for the operator, which is why you've got these enterprises or enterprise operators gaining in comfort with trying to pursue these. But then the thing that's really where I start to get even more excited is, so now if I'm an operator of a facility and I've got a connected thermostat or an HVAC unit and also a connected lighting system, can I start to, and I'm managing those through one automation platform, can I start to correlate those two data from those two control systems and then drive entirely new experiences for a customer? So we were talking earlier before the show about if we can tell that it's Steve Latham that enters a property and we know enough about Steve to where we can personalize the physical experience inside a building by maintaining a constant connection to these control systems. Think about the power of that. There was a customer that we had that was in the gaming industry, a casino, and you think about a casino and you think about all the connected devices. If we know that based on the profile of the customers that are in that casino, that we can drive sort of a real-time, almost flash mob marketing campaign, where on an instant we turn all the screens to a certain color, a certain branded experience. We turn the music to really a physical advertisement where the consumer gets merged into this experience. That's pretty powerful stuff. Totally different way of thinking about marketing.
That is super powerful. Yeah, I mean, I think we talked to John a little bit of that experiential marketing aspect. And, from a digital marketing perspective, personalization is a really big thing, right? We've been seeing that a lot. But what I think is interesting is that IoT is kind of opening that to be able to kind of expand that beyond a digital experience, but they can kind of play together. So your experience there, or your example there of being able to, you enter into this facility, you put your information in there, and then the system, knows who you are, and because of that, they can adapt, you can personalize that experience there. So, having those customer profiles and that information accessible through a database and having those right points there, play that together, and you've got that digital plus that actual real physical reality experience. You're able to drive that based off of that. I think that is awesome.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
I agree.
So, and also on that note, on personalization too, some of the things that we've seen, which is interesting, and I think that we might be seeing this a little bit more based on your example there, is that even in just outbound communications and stuff, maybe some applications you could take from that is just looking at cost savings that you've generated for your client based on implementing the solution and having that built into sort of an automated reporting tool, or be able to say, hey, look, we've implemented this solution, or there's this tool that we've sold to you to help, measure your tank usage, whether, the amount of gas that you've put into this, tank that you guys help. We're able to reduce the amount of deliveries by X amount, being able to help sort of automate that a little bit and communicate that.
Right. Yeah, there's sort of this journey that our customers end up going through when we implement our product. Our product is all about any devices that you have in your retail footprint or physical footprint, doesn't necessarily need to be retail. Any of those we can connect into one management platform. And usually the journey that we take a customer through, the first thing that they want to do, they're very cost focused. They want to get visibility into all those connected devices. They want to make sure that the availability of those connected devices maintains a very high threshold, that they're healthy, that they can start to do things like preventative maintenance or predictive service on these machines in order to keep them up and running. And so it starts with monitoring. Just help me monitor all of the assets that I have deployed in this environment. Then we take them, once everything's connected, then you can start to show them, we call them IoT campaigns, which is really about, now that we've got real-time events coming from one device, is there a particular pattern that should trigger a reaction? So that would initiate an IoT campaign, which very well could be a marketing campaign. It could be flash mob advertising, or it could be as simple as create a ticket and dispatch a technician to go service that unit. And so then we take them from this monitoring mindset to this idea that we're going to help them create entirely new experiences based on the real-time pattern or data that's coming in through the platform. And then the final destination is really gets at what you were just driving at, which is now you have, let's say you have 30,000 connected locations, and within those locations you've got, on average, 50 to 100 devices at that location. You think about all of that data that's coming into this central management system, and how can you use that data?
Right.
You know, once you get enough history, you can really start to develop. It's not just one location that's providing you what might be data or trends in isolation. You're looking at 30,000 locations at scale, and you can really develop some ideas about patterns that are occurring inside of your business that you can start to drive reactions. And so that data, that final stage, is really about making the data, using the data to become way, way, way smarter about your IoT campaigns. But then also, now you have data that's really interesting for the industry you're serving, and they're willing to pay you for it.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's another product.
Right. And that's really the typical journey. So it starts at monitoring, it goes to this enhanced customer experience, and then it lands at this really massive data store that becomes extremely powerful for them.
Well, what I love about that is that really it's all about, well, a couple things. All about the data. So everything that is going on, the operations, it's all data driven.
Yeah.
But the thing that's really cool to me is that there's a ton of creativity inside of that, right? So one of the things I think there's, so I have an accounting background, and some people are like, how do you have an accounting background? And then you're like doing some creative stuff.
Yeah.
And one of the things I think is interesting is that on the creative side, we're always telling a story, right? Well, when you look at the numbers, there is a story inside those numbers, and I think that's what bringing in these kind of platforms and having that data gives you the ability to be able to have sort of that marble block, if you will, and there's a story inside that. Now we just have to kind of chisel away and work our way to kind of figure out what that is and say, oh wow, we just discovered now that we can connect all these different data points and to be able to drive this marketing campaign, or now we have a whole new product that we can. So it just dorkily gets me very excited about all the opportunities that it possesses or poses, and it's really, I think, just a matter of just kind of stepping back, analyzing it, looking at it, and then just kind of thinking creative. Okay, well, what does this mean if we've got this connection here? And to your point, that we're seeing this trend over here. Well, maybe if we see a lot of people performing whatever XYZ function, maybe we could, at that point, we dispatch somebody. Well, maybe we're sending an email. We're going to just trigger an email that we're going to fire out to say, hey, just want to let you know, we detected this, we're dispatching this, we're on top of it. And just from a customer service standpoint, it's, okay, wow, this is great. Like, they've already got me, so we're detecting some abnormalities here. We're going to go and just, we want to make sure we want to keep, the uptime up.
Right.
We don't want any downtime.
I mean, I've got a great example of that, which is exactly what you just said. There is one of our partners and a customer of ours is in the self-storage industry, and they manage access control systems within self-storage, and they have their technology deployed across over 35,000 locations. And
a lot of locations.
A lot of locations.
A lot of data.
Exactly. And one of the things is we've been talking to their customers about the value that IoT brings to this space. It's almost every customer said, hey, could you tell us when a customer is about to leave by access control data? Which seems very logical, right? Like if you've got a customer that there's a lot of activity when they move in, and there's a lot of activity when they move out.
But in between,
it's pretty silent. And so if you start to see increased usage, that would suggest that they're probably going to leave, and that should trigger some sort of light touch to the customer initially, just to say, hey, like, check out these incremental services, like a moving service, for example. So I just think that more data, more visibility into a physical footprint through IoT can drive all kinds of new campaigns that we've never thought about.
Yeah, that's exciting. What a great use case there. I mean, whether you have that moving service or not, or being able to partner with somebody, again, it's helping to solve the challenge. You're taking that data, you understand like what's going on. Hey, there's something. Oh, I love it. So and I think it's one of those things too. I don't know necessarily there's a finite path per se. I guess. I mean, obviously you have to have some sort of platform in place to be able to, be able to have that data and be able to analyze it, but just kind of stepping back and thinking, well, what could we do to help make a better experience for our customers,
right,
or our customer's customer, depending on who that is. But,
right.
no, that's awesome. So another question I guess I might have is there such thing as too much like IoT, or just because we can do something, just because we can measure it? I imagine, is there like a balance?
Yeah, I a lot of times, I'm a big advocate of this. I think and I almost feel like we're a little past with IoT as an emerging technology trend. IoT has arrived. It's here. It's in our face. It's being used. There are standards that are coming to life around IoT, and so I feel like in the last 12 to 24 months, we've really seen IoT arrive. But previous to that, one of the warnings that I would give a lot of people that would come in is I would say you have to make sure you understand the value proposition that you're pursuing before you just go experiment. Because if it's not, at the end of the day, if it's not enhancing the customer experience or changing your cost or revenue profile, you have to ask yourself if it's worth the experiment of doing it.
Right, yeah.
And so I absolutely agree with you. The good news, I think, to that question is because of where IoT is in its life cycle, I think that we're a little beyond a lot of experimentation. Like things are really hardening and coming to life in a way that I think is pretty powerful for IoT. I think there are new emerging technology trends that are coming to life as a result of IoT that have that risk profile.
Sure.
So.
Yeah. Okay. So my last question.
Yeah.
Speaking to a digital marketer, I'm working for a manufacturing company, and we've got some IoT solutions rolled out. We have some things that are maybe helping us from an efficiency standpoint in our plant operations, but also on products that we have manufactured. What advice would you give to somebody who's sitting there to kind of to different things that they might be able to do to be able to make their digital marketing campaigns a little better, a little smarter?
Right. Well, I think there's probably a few different ways to answer that. I think first and foremost, the advice that I would give a customer that if they were asking me that would be that focus on your strength. Focus, if your core competency is manufacturing hardware, that's your 80 and 80% of what you do, so focus on your 80.
Right.
And develop relationships with firms that have a strong presence around digital marketing or IoT as a discipline, and leverage that to help you get that product to market. I think that if you're a manufacturing company and believing that you can become a consumer or even an enterprise marketing company around IoT is probably a little bit of a stretch. And some companies can do it, obviously, but I think most of the time, especially initially as you're considering this, developing strong relationships with companies that can help you develop the right message is really important. And without a doubt, the most important thing to do, I believe, is to understand what your customers want, understand the real value proposition of what it is that you're building, so that your message can be really focused, really targeted, and solve the right problems for them. I think, back to the point that you had previously, a trap is that you have just built something that technically is very cool and very fun, but it actually doesn't solve the issue for the customer. Right. And so your product is wrong, your marketing is wrong, you're missing the point. So I would say, off the cuff, the two things that I would recommend are get to the voice of the customer, really help understand, make sure you've got that right, and then develop the right partnership with a company that can help you target your message for that customer.
I was hoping you would give us a silver bullet answer. No, but that it's a very consistent theme here on the show all the time. It goes to really, looking at the personas, really getting an understanding of your customer.
Sure.
What are their challenges? What are their needs?
Yeah.
And when it comes to product development, is making something that is actually solving a problem, or is it just really cool and you think it's amazing?
Yeah.
Just because it's really cool and it's amazing, it might not take off. But if you're solving a challenge, you kind of got to go through all that. So, all right. Well, thanks so much for coming on. If somebody has a question, I'd like to reach out, what's the best way of contacting you?
Sure. So you can reach us, go to our website. It's www.banyonhills.com. You can reach out to support@banyonhills.com to get in touch with us, and we'd love to talk with you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks so much. Appreciate
Excellent. So, all right, so IoT, a lot of great nuggets of information here. I think one of the coolest things that I took away was that just really the endless amounts of possibilities there are if you have an IoT solution that's implemented, or if you're thinking about doing that. That from a digital marketing standpoint, from a marketing standpoint, you're able to take that data and be able to create better experiences, whether that's digitally or even in person in that physical reality. So think creatively. Think about, okay, if we have access to the data, analyze it, spend that time, look at it, try to maybe help to figure out what you might be able to do with that. And it could be as simple as, if you're dispatching preventative maintenance calls, being able to send in an email campaign to be able to communicate, hey, look, we're on your side, we're helping you to solve that challenge and make sure that you guys don't have downtime. Things like that. They're simple, but they really mean a lot. So hopefully it took something away. I know I did. It was awesome. If you are listening to this on iTunes, hey, we'd love to have a review. If you have any questions, we'd love to answer them. IndustrialSage.com/questions. We'll answer those for you. Please share, like this, and do all the things. And until next week, I'm Dan Gonzalez, and this is Industrial Sage. Thanks for watching.